In the darkness 300 meters below the Peruvian highlands, a torch beam catches something that isn't stone, something pale, something that holds the shape of a human body but shouldn't exist in this depth, in this sealed passage in a labyrinth that took 5 centuries to find. The mummy's wrappings are intact. The air around it is cold enough to have kept it breathing like for millennia. And when the archaeologists finally reached it, they realized no one had been down here to check on it since the passage was sealed. 500 years ago, maybe longer. The labyrinth sits 12,000 feet above sea level. At that altitude, the air holds half the oxygen of the coast. Your lungs burn, your vision narrows. The Inca didn't build this place for visitors. They built it for gods and the dead. The structure itself spans 40 football fields, a geometric grid so precise that Spanish conquistadors, when they arrived, missed it entirely. You can only see its true shape from above, from a height the Inca could never reach. They built it for something that wasn't meant to look down on itself. The torchlight wobbles across the passage wall, the hand doing 2 things at once, illuminating and flinching. Half a second before recognition, the temperature drops. The skin on the forearms goes cold without warning. That's the moment before the mummy becomes real, before the brain catches up to what the eyes have already seen but refuse to process. A passage so narrow that the explorer's shoulders brush both walls, a passage that narrows further, and then something pale that isn't stone, something that hasn't moved in 500 years. The mummy is massive, nearly 7 feet tall when unwrapped, far larger than the average Inca of that era. Skeletal analysis suggests this person lived to roughly 60 years old, an age that places them among the oldest people of their civilization. The wrappings are a type of textile only found in royal burials. The placement, alone at the deepest point of the labyrinth, suggests this wasn't an ordinary death. This was a deliberate descent, a ritual commitment to darkness. But here's what stops the archaeologists in their tracks. The passage has no secondary entrance. The team mapped every inch of the labyrinth using 3D laser scanning, the same technology used to map the inside of the Great Pyramid. The passage containing the mummy is a dead end, a chamber carved specifically to hold something and then be forgotten. The Inca didn't seal it from the outside, they sealed it from the inside. The mummy didn't stop breathing because it died. It stopped breathing because the air in that chamber is recycled through cracks in the stone so slowly that each breath is nearly identical to the one 500 years before it. The labyrinth geometry itself argues something stranger. The passages follow mathematical ratios that match astronomical alignments, the summer solstice, the rising of Sirius. The main chamber aligns with the Milky Way's brightest point. The Inca built a structure that is simultaneously a calendar, a map of the cosmos, and a mausoleum. They encoded time into stone, and then they walked away from it and let the jungle take the surface. We don't know who the mummy is. Carbon dating places the burial between 1480 and 1550 CE, the period of Inca expansion when the empire reached its greatest scale. The facial reconstruction suggests Quechua ancestry, but the skeletal markers indicate unusual genetic variation. Blood analysis is still pending. Isotope testing of the teeth suggests the person spent their youth far from the highlands, possibly near the coast, or in the jungle. Then something brought them here, something significant enough to warrant this depth, this concealment, this elaborate cosmic alignment. The second argument, the one the visuals make before the words land, is this: we are the ones who have forgotten how to hide anything, how to ritualize death, how to build for meaning instead of speed. We live in a civilization that records every breath, that maps and streams and catalogs. We are transparent by design, and 500 years ago on a mountain we thought we knew, someone built a chamber that stayed invisible for 5 centuries. They made something so elaborate, so deliberately obscured, that when we finally found it, we still can't say what it means. We can only stand in the cold passage, torchlight shaking, and admit, we are still finding the world for the first time. The discovery raises questions that don't have answers yet. Why was someone placed so deep? Why was the passage designed to be forgotten? Why did the Inca spend the resources to create an astronomical chamber that no one would ever see from the ground? What does it mean that this mummy has been breathing the same ancient air for 500 years, waiting in darkness for something or someone who never came back? And maybe the most unsettling question of all, how many more labyrinths are still out there? How many chambers haven't been found? The Peruvian highlands stretch across an area larger than Spain. Archaeological teams have mapped less than 3% of known Inca sites with modern laser technology. Less than 3%, which means somewhere in the darkness, under the moss and the stone, there are dozens, possibly hundreds, of sealed passages we haven't discovered yet. Passages that might hold mummies we don't know exist. Chambers aligned to stars we haven't thought to look for. The world isn't as mapped as we thought. The darkness still keeps secrets, and the scale of what we've forgotten to find is only now becoming visible. The ceiling isn't the sky, the map isn't the territory, and something is still waiting for us to return.